Good evening, everyone. This is the November 16, 2021 meeting of the Harbor Management Commission. With me at Old Town Hall is Jack Herschler and Betty Gabriel. On the line, Mark Foster, Ted Schwartzman, Eric Sunman, our new Harbor Master, Brian LeClaire. Do I have anyone else? Sam Cargill, Harry French, Doug Metchick. I know Libby has said she's not going to be able to make it this evening. Okay, but we do have a quorum, so let's begin. We have a flag in the room, so we will begin our meeting by pledging allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, everyone. The first item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from our September 21 meeting. Betty distributed them with the agendas, and could I have a motion to accept them as written?
Betty, I had sent you a note. I think there might be a typo on them.
I have to look. I haven't.
Okay. It's in the.
Do that.
It's in the. There's a duplicate. It's just a typo. It's a duplicate paragraph towards the end of the minutes, and I'm not remembering what the topic was, but it's the same sentence twice. Okay. One says a higher level paragraph, one is a sub-bullet underneath it, I think.
Okay, I will remove any duplication.
Yeah.
Okay, so Betty has pledged to remove any duplicate sentences in the minutes. Other than that, are there any other questions or concerns about the minutes? If not, could I have a motion to accept them with the understanding that duplicate sentences will be removed?
I have it. Thank you.
Got it.
Hello, is anyone there?
Kim, this is Ted. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written with the exception of the duplicate sentence.
Thank you, Ted. Can I have a second?
I'll second it, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the minutes are accepted, and Betty has discovered the duplicate sentence, so that will be taken care of. And Doug Metchick has just joined the meeting here in person, so that's great. So we're coming up to the chairman's report. On October 29th, we got an email from Deep for the COP for the residential dock at 50 Bay Edge Court, which has been an ongoing matter over there, out of our jurisdiction, however. On November 2nd, I had a conversation with Gerald Foley, who's the Town of Fairfield Purchasing Director. As you recall, at our last meeting, we accepted Race's proposal to put together the work required to get a permit to do repair at the lower wharf. That our approval was contingent upon approval by the purchasing department in the town, because we had not gone to bid. According to Mr. Foley, the town is putting out a request for qualifications for coastal engineers, and he advised us to sit tight and not do anything until we have the town has the responses to its requests, and it believes that Race will be on that. He believed that Race was going to be on that list, but in any event, he advised that we stay, we wait until all the responses to the request are in. On November 3rd, we had 2 FOIA requests from John Casey of Robinson and Cole. The first request was for documents, communications related to 12 items The first 4 items were related to our motion at the August 10th special meeting. The additional items were related to in communications denying permits to anyone other than Mr. Owens, all communications related to, not related to, with LLCs who had applied for moorings, and the second FOIA request was related to all documents related to any dredging projects in the harbor over the last 10 years, regardless of whether or not they had been had HMC approval or not. So the risk manager is working on responding, as we are responding to those requests. On November 4, we received a letter from Mr. Blatt of Deep. As you recall, in our August 10 special meeting, we decided that we wanted to ask Deep to clarify and confirm our understanding of littoral rights and public access to the harbor, and so in asking those questions on September 8th in a letter to Mr. Blatt, this is his response, and that letter was also distributed to the commissioners with the agenda yesterday. And finally, the letter from the town clerk describing in a very general way procedures for holding meetings and filing agendas and minutes, and requesting that we we come up with a slate of officers and decide on our meeting times and dates for the coming for 2022. So that's that's my report on the communications that I received over the last month. And I apologize, our harbor master is present on the phone, and normally this would be the place where we would ask him to make a report, and it was my omission that I did not put that on the agenda. However, Harbor Master Leclerc, if you are there and have a report to make, we are all ears.
I am here. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm actually out of state on vacation this week.
Good for you. We can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, good. Well, that's good. Well, it's been a busy few weeks since I've been appointed, coming up to speed, going through all the necessary documents and the documents I've been given, getting the email set up, getting a handle on online mooring, and learning to maneuver my way around that. I've had great positive response, not only from you commissioners, but from Pequot, Jeff and Travis, as well as just people in general. I sent out several test/blast emails to the people on the waiting list and the current mooring permit holders, introducing myself, giving them the contact information, and that's some very nice feedback from them and from folks when I was at Ye Yacht Yard, walking around, checking things out. I did notify everyone of our new requirement effective January 1 of the safe boating certificate and how folks can get copies of that from Deep if they lost their card. And it also, that same website link I gave them, has classes if they need to take an online class right now, so they have it in time for January 1. I've spoken to Online Mooring about the changes being made on the North Anchorage area, 1 permit versus the 51 individual permits. So I'm coming up to speed on everything. Everything so far, so good.
Excellent. Thank you. Commissioners, questions? We have a question here, Brian, from Jeff.
Yeah.
On the other side because of the storm force. But at the mooring committee meeting, Brian, there was a discussion about the precise location of the boundary between the channel and the anchorage into the harbor. And I've talked about that with the town surveying department and sent to them the Corps of Engineers survey. And Mr. Lehman said that he would help us try to figure out how to eyeball that boundary, or maybe set up some benchmarks. But he said he'll have time to discuss that with us next week. So the survey department will help us on that, the identification.
Oh, that's good news. There was a question, for those of you that don't know, as to the precise location of the channel and whether we have a mooring sitting in it, specifically 00, the first one on the right-hand side on the south wall. When you come in, whether that's in the channel, and as you know, it cannot be. And there was a concern at the mooring committee, that we not have any moorings in the channel, especially if we are seeking to do dredging, because that will be a problem with the Army Corps when that's determined. So the good news is we have one opening along that wall. So if we need to move everyone back one spot, we can. And that's what this is about, trying to determine if that first 00 and or number 1 are encroaching where they should not be in the channel.
Super. Thanks, Jeff and Brian. Any other questions from commissioners of the Harbor Master?
And Madam Chairman, one other thing I can report that came up is regarding the Stonington boat that they were getting rid of. They were intrigued how we found out about it so quickly, but they have to trade it in. So it's not available for donation or any other reason. So.
Well, that's too bad.
But they say it's a nice boat.
Of course it is. Okay, thank you. The next, no other questions for the Harbor Master? Okay, moving along then, the Lower Wharf, Mr. Stedman.
Don't have anything more to report than the chair mentioned about the discussions with the purchasing department, because we although the commission agreed to accept Race's modified proposal, we do have to make sure we're in compliance with the purchasing requirements. And I did talk with the representative of the Connecticut Port Authority and told him that we would be sending a letter to him just to get confirmation that we can repurpose the grant funds that were allocated for dredging to the new work, and that's part of the overall project at the beginning. So he's anticipating getting that letter, and so hopefully we get a formal confirmation of what he said to us verbally, and then we continue to talk about the project with the town engineering department. And so right now we're just awaiting the purchasing, awaiting the way to retain the contractor to do the work for us, to get the permit.
Great. Okay, so we're in a holding pattern, but hopefully it won't be a long one.
But we should get that. We can get that letter off to the Port Authority, though.
Right, before the next meeting.
Before the next meeting.
Yeah, good. Commissioners, any questions? Okay, next agenda item, sand management. Jeff, Mark, anything?
Mark asked if I could give a brief report.
Oh, good.
And we're still awaiting the completion of the draft plan by the Army Corps of Engineers, and the project manager went to New Orleans on a mission post-hurricane in New Orleans. She's back now, but so there was a little bit of a loss of time on that, but the Corps had a mission to provide, I believe, temporary housing or new housing for people affected by the hurricane. So she's back working on that, and I said that we would certainly hope that they could come and do the site visit before the end of the year. And we're also waiting to have further discussions regarding the ownership of the structures and access to the ownership of the sandbar to be dredged and access to that area. So we need to have some discussions with the Country Club of Fairfield as we knew that we needed to do, and with the assumption that they'll continue to be good partners as they have in the past. So anyway, I've been talking with Ms. Siligato at the Corps regularly, and she's doing the best she can to move things along. But they have a lot of work, and they're not in their office yet working. They're all working remotely.
Oh wow, that slows things down. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Jeff. Any questions? Sand management, any questions? Okay, moving right along, mooring committee, Mr. Herschler.
Yes, the committee met on November 9th. At that meeting, attending were Kim Taylor, Harry French, Jeff Stedman, Harbor Master Leclerc, Jeff Engborg from Pequot Yacht Club, and myself. I won't cover the things that Harbor Master Leclerc has already covered that were discussed in the meeting, but there are a few other items that we did discuss that have not been mentioned tonight. There was a discussion about confirming that Online Mooring has the updated fee table and has properly programmed the new $10 fee at initial application for waiting list applications and also at each annual renewal. And Harbor Master Leclerc followed up with Online Mooring. Online Mooring properly, I guess, indicated that they need to get those directions from the commission as their customer. And so I sent a note following up on that to Online Mooring last week, and they have already completed a work ticket to do that work. So that's underway at this point at Online Mooring. So that should be all set for the beginning of the year. Jeff Engborg and Harbor Master Leclerc discussed communications and coordinated communications to the folks in the North Anchorage to make sure that folks in the North Anchorage understand how the bulk permit's going to work and how that will affect folks in the North Anchorage going forward. And Harbor Master Leclerc also discussed with us his thinking about continued use of decals for permit holders, and we discussed several options for how those decals might be marked on a go-forward basis. And then finally, Jeff Engborg reported to us that the North Anchorage mooring zone is the one scheduled for inspection this winter, and work is already underway on decommissioning those for the season, and the work will be undertaken shortly. There's a discussion about having Mr. Engborg come and present to the full commission the results of his inspection and maintenance work in that segment of the harbor. That tackle, you recall, is owned by Pequot Yacht Club, but we're still interested in the safety of the overall harbor, so that will be important to hear from him. And there was discussion of entering the results of the inspections and the tackle maintenance for any of the tackle sets in the North Anchorage in the Online Mooring System section that's created for that purpose. That's my report.
Great, thanks, Jack. Any questions about mooring committee issues? On the phone, public, nobody here? Okay. Hearing no questions. The plan update, that's me. Plan update committee met on October 28th. We were looking at the Chapter 2 of the plan, and what we decided was that we and Jeff specifically would ask the Conservation Director, the Parks and Recreation Department, and Pequot Yacht Club for their input on those sections in Chapter 2 which describe their areas of responsibility, so that to be sure that we had accurate information in that those sections of Chapter 2. We also discussed the need to add information about dredging and sand management to the plan, and specifically the two projects that had already, since the plan was written, that had the town dredging at the mouth of the channel, and our efforts to get the Army Corps to dredge at the country club entrance there, at the entrance to the channel by the country club there as well, and to include all that information in Chapter 2, since it was dredging and sand management are obviously going to continue to be major require major efforts in managing the harbor. We also discussed, Jeff had updated the July, the presentation that he made to the Commission in July 2020, added a few new slides, and we have, we wish to have the many sections of the presentation easily accessible to the public, and to that end, it was decided that perhaps we would narrate these individual slides and take out some of the language so that as they appeared in a slide presentation, either on our website or at other places, that people could go through particular topics in fairly short order and be listening to folks talking about the topic rather than have someone read what was on the slide. So Jeff and Doug Metchik are working on dividing that excellent presentation into topics, manageable topics, and we will continue to work with Fair TV to figure out just exactly how to record and make the presentation more available to the public. So, any questions? Jeff, please, go ahead.
I talked with Mr. Bishop, the Conservation Director, about this, and so he's looking at Chapter 2, but we also discussed that, and he would look forward to doing this, perhaps attending our December meeting, just to introduce himself and so the Commission members can meet the current Conservation Director. The previous directors were quite involved in harbor management matters with their input. And then we also didn't mention it under the sand management report, but we prepared I don't want to say a spin-off proposal, but about the history of the navigation project in Southport for the Corps of Engineers. I should share that with the plans.
That would be great. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
They asked if we could do that to because that history is quite interesting and fascinating. It's one of the most historic. It's one of the earliest federal navigation projects, as we've emphasized, in the United States. So when you look at the history of Southport Harbor, you're also looking at the history of federal navigation improvements in the United States.
Well, that would be great.
We had that secondary presentation.
That would be great. We had so many. We had several comments in our survey of last year, well, earlier this year, that people would like to know more about the history and from us. So that answers that need, that request. That's great, Jeff. Look forward to that. Status and scope of the Commission's responsibility for Lower Wharf. I have heard nothing. I asked for comment from Jim Baldwin, the town attorney, and I have not heard back from him. So that matter continues to wait for guidance from the people of more authority than we have on that. Okay, any questions, Commissioners, on any of the old business matters? Okay, moving forward, Jeff?
Is there a new business item that I might comment on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that, we got through the other items?
I haven't gotten to the two on the agenda, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to suggest that the Commission agree to write a letter to a person who has just retired from the Corps of Engineers and to wish her well upon her retirement and also thank her for her efforts to essentially solve the conflicts in Southport Harbor almost 30 years ago and leading to the harbor management plan. And so her name is Diane Ray. And you know, in the mid-1980s, there were regulatory and compliance issues that were identified in Southport Harbor, and the U.S. Attorney was involved, and there were significant conflicts. And it took 10 years almost to get the harbor management plan adopted. And I always remember that on the day that Harris Russell and Pat Carroll and I drove to, the Corps was not in, they were in Waltham then, not Concord. And we sat down in the Corps' conference room, and the simple solution came up from Ms. Ray and others, that the solution to these problems in Southport was to defederalize what had been the 6-foot federal anchorage, to allow the yacht club to have its own mooring area. And in exchange, the yacht club would provide boating services to the public. The other part of the solution was that large area between Perry Green and the country club was still designated as a channel in the federal authorizing documents, which meant that you couldn't have boats moored in the channel. So the idea was, the solution was, when we defederalized the anchorage, we would change the designation defederalize what had been the federal anchorage, change the designation of the wide channel to anchorage, so that boats could be moored there. Now, the yacht club members had boats that were permitted in that area, but they were controlled by the yacht club. They could stay; they were grandfathered. But if they left, those boats all had to be managed by the harbor master. And then the third aspect of the solution was to move, that then became a channel, or anchorage, opposite the yacht club, to move the western boundary away from the yacht club's docks, so that the yacht club had the opportunity to put in its service dock, and it would not be encroaching into the federal navigation project. And that was the basis of the harbor management plan, to solve all those problems. And those suggestions came from Ms. Ray at the Corps of Engineers, who's now retired after 30 years. So I was hoping that we could just write, or suggesting that we could write a letter wishing her well and thanking her for her service to the community, and as being an example of the federal government helping the community.
Well, I think we all owe her a lot, absolutely, and to acknowledge that debt and thank her for her hard work on our behalf, I think would be entirely appropriate. Commissioners, any thoughts?
Must still be a connection.
Are we still, Commissioners, are you there? Can we?
Yes, this is Eric. Yes, definitely, I'd be all for that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great. Well, I think we should.
Okay.
I think we should. Hearing no objection, I'll take silence as an assent. And thank you, Eric. And we'll go ahead and we'll thank Ms. Ray for her work on her work on our behalf, and a happy retirement. The other matters of new business, we have meeting dates. We have to set our meeting dates for 2022, and historically we have met on the third Tuesday of the month. And the town clerk needs us to either agree to continue with that tradition, if you will, or come up with a new plan. And Betty has drafted what the third Tuesdays are in 2022. And actually, none of them look like they're on a holiday, do they?
No, I printed the holiday.
Right. So none of them are on a holiday. Does anyone have an opinion about whether or not we should continue to meet on the third Tuesday of the month? Does anyone want to change? Okay. So does anyone?
I'm fine with that. I'm fine keeping it the way it is.
Okay. The third Tuesday of the month, we could also change our time. 4:45 is our time. We can change that. Does anybody need it to be changed to earlier, later?
A little earlier would be better for me, but that's certainly not.
Anybody, If we were to move it to 4:30, does anyone have an objection to moving it to 4:30? That would be better for Jeff.
Yes, that's fine. That would be fine with me.
4:30 is okay with you? Anybody else? Jack is giving me a thumbs up. 4:30?
If I can make 4:45, I can do 4:30. It's fine.
Fine?
Just gives me an extra to get to Stanford afterwards.
Okay, so I need a motion to, Jack has raised his hand.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the dates and a change in time to 4:30 PM start times on the dates designated on a list that the people on the phone can't see, but we have here at the table.
But it's the third Tuesday of every month
Right.
in 2022. Betty
Okay,
checked
Betty.
it, and I checked it too, so.
Okay.
So I have a motion, third Tuesday of every month, meeting time at 4:30 instead of 4:45.
Starting
have
in-
a second?
Starting in January.
Starting in January.
Right.
December is
Still
It still is 4:45 on 12/21. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Eric.
Eric.
Yep, all in favor? Let me restate the motion. 4:30 start time in 2022 on the third Tuesday of every month in 2022 is our motion. Jack moved, Eric second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Great, thank you, that passes, and we're good. Okay, the next item of new business on the agenda is to put together a nominating committee for a slate of officers. We have a chair, a secretary, and a treasurer. A chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. We do not have a treasurer, although sometimes I wish we did. So I need a nominating committee to come up with a slate that we will vote on at our December 21st, 21 meeting. Do we have any volunteers? Well, Eric, you and Sam did such a good job last time. Can I ask you, please, to continue your good work and be our nominating committee?
Sure, Kim. This is Eric. I'd be happy to serve on it. That's fine.
Thank you. And Sam, I don't think Sam is here, but we
I think
can.
Sam might be traveling. I'm not sure if he has a good connection today, but we'll. I don't know.
Okay, but we can both get in touch with him. So thank you for that. And that is new business. Is there anybody else? Jeff? Another item of new business?
Santa, yes. I don't know if you've mentioned the aquarium, the status of the aquarium.
I have not mentioned aquarium.
Project.
Right.
And so earlier, was it last month or I guess it was last month, DEEP issued the hearing officer issued her proposed final decision for the aquarium application to divert water from the mill, from the Hemlocks Reservoir. And the proposed final decision essentially would grant Aquarian everything that they wanted, the 25-year term of the permit and the amount of water that they wish that they plan to divert. The town has taken what's called exceptions to that proposed final decision, which then leads to oral arguments before the DEEP commissioner, which is essentially an appeal of the hearing officer's proposal to the DEEP commissioner, and that's going to be on December 8th. And in that proposed final decision, the hearing officer referenced the letter that the Harbor Management Commission submitted with comments and recommendations, but, and this is my opinion based on reading it, did not address the comments of the Harbor Commission, but instead in a footnote said that the Harbor Commission has the recommendations of the Harbor Commission are not binding, per the Superior Court decision from earlier this year that we had talked about. So that's of concern, and that points to I think the urgency of working with the legislative delegation to get a clarification or an amendment of the harbor management statutes. That case that led to the statements that the Harbor Commission has no authority over DEP, that's being appealed by the town of Greenwich now. But that's who knows how that will work out. But so the two things to think about are trying to move forward with the town's legislators to support a change to the harbor management statutes, a clarification to confirm the long-standing responsibilities of the Harbor Commission to review deep permits, and then also think about our specific recommendations with respect to the Aquarian proposal. And one of the recommendations was that there should be a review of DEEP's permitting process for these utility company water projects, which now the burden is on the concerned parties to demonstrate that there's an adverse impact, rather than on the applicant to do anything more than say that there's not going to be any impacts. And so perhaps we could take that up with some of the legislators. I know Senator Huang was interested in that, and maybe Representative McCarthy would be too. But the oral arguments are coming up on the 8th, and on December 8th. There's a link to listen to them, but there's nothing more expected of the Harbor Commission in this DEP. There's no opportunity for more comments or recommendations. So
is the Conservation Department, who from the town who will be representing the town's interest at that hearing? Do we know?
Well, the Conservation Department is an intervening party.
Okay.
And so were the Mill River Wetland Group
okay.
and the Fair Plan Group. And so how they're planning to make their oral arguments, I don't know.
Okay.
But the 25 years of a permit seems excessive. And also the lack of consideration for any downstream monitoring device based on the argument that there won't be any downstream impacts to monitor.
Right.
It seems
right.
interesting at best.
Right.
But
are you planning on listening to
Oh,
that?
yes.
Okay, good. So you can fill us in at the next meeting.
But we might want to reach out and maybe transmit our letters, again, copies to the legislators.
Okay.
And ask if there's a way to address that recommendation where we're saying there's need to reevaluate or at least evaluate DEEP's permit process.
Okay, I can do that. We can do that. Reach out to the legislators before December 8th.
Yeah.
So they know, they might even pay attention, and they might even have the opportunity to listen.
Yeah, and you know that Aquarian is owned by Eversource Energy, and the agreement between Eversource Energy and the state of Connecticut to purchase electricity generated by wind power is specifically with the DEP. So you could argue that DEEP has a significant conflict in reviewing an application by an entity that they have a significant financial agreement with. But I don't know what value that. It just makes it interesting to think about all this.
Okay, comments or thoughts from commissioners about the Aquarian matter? Okay, I have no other items on our agenda for new business. Is there anybody from the public?
No, okay. For your budget, I gave you,
Betty?
I left it exactly the way that it was from the current fiscal year. And you need to review to see whether the commission needs to increase it, reduce it.
Okay. So Betty has handed me the budget next year, and she has asked that we think about any increases in costs, any expenditures that we have not incurred before that we might be facing in the coming year? Because we have to, the time to present this is fast approaching.
The 24th
Of December?
November.
Oh, Ted, November 24, we have to be presenting this to the town. Commissioners, if you have any ideas of expenses that we have not incurred so far or that will be increasing, please let me know before the 24th, which is next week.
This includes the harbor management account or just the budget items?
Just your operating budget.
Just our operating budget, which is consulting services primarily.
Right.
But some printing and copying expenses as well, so.
I compared it with what your expenditures were last year at the end of the fiscal year and what you have now. There was nothing that really jumped out at me that needed to change, but you're going to need to look at your consultant fees.
Gotcha. So Betty, I don't know if you could hear, but Betty has reported that what she has taken a look at compared to last year is there's not much that appears that we might have to change, but perhaps there might be some increased consulting fee expenses. And so again, commissioners, any items that you think from the town budget that you think that might be costing more in 2022, please need to know by next week.
I have a question. Am I correct in understanding that a year ago there was a boat that was donated to the Harbor Management Commission for the Harbor Masters?
Doug, can you hear Doug has just had a question?
My question was that I wanted to verify that last year in advance of the budget that there was a boat that was donated for the Harbor Masters use. Am I correct in understanding that?
No, the boat was offered. The boat was offered, but the finance department basically said, no, it was too old, we don't want you to get it.
Got it, okay. So my question was related to expenses for that.
Okay.
If so, that would explain it. That would explain the big zero.
We don't have a boat.
We have the Emperor's new harbor master boat.
We have a new harbor master, but no new boat. So there won't be, fortunately or unfortunately, there won't be any additional boating expenses. But this budget that we're talking about is not from the harbor account, about the harbor account. This is just the money that we want the RTM to appropriate so that we can do our administrative.
So Brian, do you know if your computer and your phone that you inherited are functioning properly? Because those do come out of this.
Right.
As to the phone, it's Brian LeClaire. As to the phone I was given had a cracked screen. So I reached out to the town's IT director because it is a town phone, just saying, hey, I could keep using it. Is this at risk of, completely breaking and disabling it? And he said, don't worry. We rotate our phones all the time. Bring it in. So I was given a brand new phone just last week, a town phone, and they'll replace them as needed. Should we drop it in the harbor, I suppose. But in all seriousness, they replaced them periodically, and it was due for a replacement. So that's all set. As to the laptop, I have not turned it on yet because I've been using my own personal laptop to access online mooring. So I have no reason to think it doesn't work, but I really had no use to it. It's not a laptop. It's just a Chromebook, actually.
Right.
The town has. So, since what's that? I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. Do you have it with you? Not on
I
vacation.
don't have it with me. Right now, I do not have it with me. I'm actually down in the Keys. So I don't have it.
I'm glad you don't have it with you. Okay.
But I could let you know by Monday. If I can confirm that it works.
Okay. That would be good because we want you to be able to access online mooring. So, and we don't expect you, although if you're more comfortable using your own, that's fine, but we don't expect you to do all of that with your own computer. We're happy to provide.
But that's not, it's actually easier since I live on my laptop anyways, between work and home. I carry it with me everywhere, so it's simple stuff.
Okay, but if you let me know when it's convenient, that would be good. I mean, even if you
Sure.
just put the provision in, we don't have to necessarily, we'd like to be able to support it if we need to.
Sure.
Any commissioners on the phone, any other comments, questions, thoughts before our next meeting on December 21?
No.
Okay. Is there any member of the public who have a question, thought, concern, would like to speak or be heard? People on the phone as well as members of the public here?
No, thank you for the opportunity, though.
You're very welcome. Very welcome, Pat.
Oh,
Would you like to say something, could you hear us this evening?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you.
Without the hearing aids.
Thank you for keeping us honest. Anyone else from the public who would like to comment or ask questions?
Said happy Thanksgiving to all.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Pat. You too.
Thanks, Pat.
Okay, hearing no additional comments, questions, or thoughts, can I have a motion to adjourn? Jack has raised his hand. I need a second from someone on the phone, on the call.
Kim, it's Ted. I'll second that.
Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. So we are adjourned, folks, until December 21st at 4:45. Not till January will we start at 4:30. Okay, everybody, have a great Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.